want to start this press release out, or press conference out, by saying a few things, and then I'll open it up to your questions, and I'll answer any questions that you have. I want to start out by just explaining my relationship with Mayor Paul Tenhicken. I was one of his supporters in the last election, and since I've been on the city council, I have really supported all of his major initiatives. However, during those 4 years, on occasion, I have disagreed with process, with how he does things. So generally speaking, I get along with him in terms of the things that he's doing on behalf of the city, but I don't necessarily agree with him, and I frequently disagree with him on how he's getting things done from a governmental procedural standpoint. And the reason I issued the press release, because this has become personal from him, and I think he went a step too far. And I decided, really on behalf of myself and other women, there's been a practice of this in previous campaigns. He's done similar things with Jolene Letcher. I worry for Port Tenisa. Pam Cole, a candidate in the election, told me that when she first introduced herself to him, that what he said to her just shocked her. He said, in a very intimidating way, "Do you really want to do this?" And, for myself. So I feel like we have to stand up as women. I've got to stand up for myself. I've got to stand up for, the person who might be a future council member. And when these things happen, we need to speak up. And so I put the press release out, and I want to have the conversation public. I didn't want to have just a back and forth between him and I with regard to, I didn't want any debate on what the actual text said and what my actual response was. So I just made it public and turned it into a public issue. I would like to now go and just explain a little bit why, I think this is wrong. And I would begin by saying the first thing that's wrong about it, and it just shows an overall misunderstanding about ethics, and the mayor's misunderstanding of ethics and the ethics ordinance. In the text message, he accuses me of perhaps making an ethics violation, which he's going to have to do something about. Well, first of all, the authority over ethics in the city of Sioux Falls is the ethics committee. It's the ethics board. And in this whole discussion with him and the stuff that he's now said to the media, he left out the ethics board. Oh, there's some FCC violations, only he can't point to any. Oh, there's this, oh, there's that. And the city attorney's office won't comment. Well, the city attorney's office won't comment because it's not their job. All of the authority for determining whether there's an ethics violation exists within the ethics board. So in my response to him, I said, let's go to the ethics board. Because I know that everything I've done is completely legal and completely ethical. Completely legal and completely ethical. And I will tell you, I communicated with the PUC, I communicated with the AG's office, I communicated with the lawyer, for the firm that I work for from Washington, D.C., and I've been assured by that lawyer that they follow all FCC regulations. And the facts that I stated in my press release, those are the critical factors in determining whether I did anything wrong, both from an FCC standpoint, a First Amendment rights standpoint, and our ethics ordinances. The main key being it was a mass text. I did not focus on any city employees. It's no different than all the postcards that everybody's receiving. We're asking for something, and some of those postcards are going to hit a city employee, and they're asking for their vote. We're soliciting. No. The United States Supreme Court has been clear on that mass mailings, not designating any individuals, are completely appropriate and legal, and that actual government employees do have First Amendment rights as well. So what I have done is completely legal, completely ethical, and it's really not for the mayor to tell me that I've done something of that ethical, because he doesn't have that authority. And so he shouldn't be just sending me that kind of a text. Another thing I think it's important to note is that if you actually look at the actual text, and you guys can't see it because I blurted out but the text above it was in April of 1922. That mayor has not texted me since April of 1922. April 20th, I'm sorry. That mayor has not texted me for 2 full years. Okay, so it was very odd for me to receive a text from him in the middle of a campaign, you know, when he's just the day before has endorsed someone else, and tell me that he's going to, you know, file some sort of ethics action against me. So number one, when you look at this and you review why I'm making it public, look at 2 things. One is, in that text, he says that the employees and staff are complaining because texting is continuing to happen. Well, that texting event happened in a 48-hour period, and it happened 7 to 10 days ago in a 48-hour period, and it was done. It had 3 things that it said. It said, do you want to sign? Yes, no, opt out. And there was no repeats. You know, if they opted out or said no, it immediately was done. If they said yes, it got a thank you. And we have a documented stream for every single text. So what I would tell people, if they're questioning me about whether or not is that the truth about what he was claiming was going on, then ask him to take a screenshot of the texts that were supposedly sent, and I will match them up with ours, because we have a stream that shows every correspondence that we had and how many times it happened. So, you know, I don't like to call people liars, but prove to me that I'm wrong, because that's what it looks like. And then the last thing that he said, you know, that if I didn't stop, you know, he was going to, you know, take some sort of action, is a threat, and it's personal for him. It's not for me, but I just want to stop. I want to continue to run my campaign in a clean, professional way, and I just want this activity to stop so we can get about the business of trying to run an unbiased election. I'll take any questions that anybody has.
Can you share these documented and timestamped records with us so that we can
I will share those with you. If you get a screenshot from him, I will share those. I will share those with you.
Well, I'm just saying, just broadly, if you share the records, in theory, we'd be able to look at them and see, have people been texted multiple times or repeated, is what I'm saying.
I'm not trying to be difficult. I don't know that I necessarily want to reveal how many I sent out, but we're talking about thousands, and I don't know what it would take for you to feel comfortable. I'm certainly not hiding anything, but I would rather you ask the mayor to show us, and made this big allegation, show us the actual photograph of text, the repetitive text. And then I will give you that name, that person's name, or ask for the person's names, and we'll give you the text thread.
But is there anything preventing you from sharing those so we could look at the names and just see whether or not there had been repeated messages?
Do you want to look at 17,000 texts?
I mean, if you send them to me, I'll spend some time doing it.
I don't feel like I should have to share my campaign strategy with you. That's, you know, that's my thought. Again, I'm not trying to hide anything, but you show me specifics and I will give you specifics. You give me names, I'll give you their threads. You give me a screenshot, I'll give you that person's thread. But I'm not going to share my campaign strategy. Except to say, by the way, it was very effective in allowing me to reach my people. We got a lot of people who I did not know at all. So for running a citywide race, it was extremely effective in learning where your supporters are and who they might be, which is hard to do. And so I'm really kind of happy with it.
Do you feel that the mayor targets candidates who don't fall in line with him, or do you feel like you're being completely targeted in this situation?
I describe it to people this way, and I'm not a doo-wop girl. Doo-wop, you know, you gotta have a leader, like the Temptations, you know, like the Supremes. You gotta have a leader. We gotta have a leader. But I'm not gonna, you know, match everybody up and go like this. He and I disagree on how government should work. I think government should be a rock band. We gotta have a leader, but you got all these different individuals. You got the guitar player, the bass guitar, the drummer, and they're all doing something completely different, but at the end of the day, they make a song. I may be the bass guitar player, but I am not a doo-wop girl. So yes, the mayor and I have a fundamental difference and how we think government should work, which continues to cause a disagreement amongst us. And, you know, I'm not ashamed of the fact I disagree with him, because I would say this: while I've disagreed with him, I'm not disagreeable. I always do it respectfully. I don't take cheap shots. I just say it like I believe it to be.
Did your professional background, how much did that play into your confidence to come forward today?
You know, he brought out the old saber-toothed tiger in me. I'm a former prosecutor, and I defended 5-year-old girls, and I still remember their names. And I defended women who were abused, who had pieces of glass held to their throat while sex was performed on them at the top of a stairwell. So all of a sudden, he poked something in me that's been pretty tame for quite a while. And I feel like I'm standing up for myself and for women and children again.
Are you going to formally request a public examination by the Board of Ethics on this matter?
No. You know, if he's the one that started this. He's the one that started this. If he has anything, bring it on. Let's have a hearing. And I would say this: here's how the process works. He can file his complaint, and then as the accused, I have a right to a public hearing or a private hearing. I will guarantee you it will be a public hearing. I will not have a closed confidential hearing, and I will ask that it be expedited so that it can happen immediately before the election.
Were the messages sent out by your campaign auto-generated, or were they all manually typed? What was that process like?
They were individually done. And again, all of the items that we listed in the facts, my understanding, again, from the lawyer in Washington, D.C., is that those are those FCC requirements. So those were the things that she assured me that their company has expertise in, and that they, you know, regularly do these things. They do millions of these a year, and so that they would be in compliance with all of those rules.
What is the communications firm you used for these texts?
Red State Inc. out of Washington, D.C.
And if the mayor wants to move forward with anything with the ethics board, you're ready for that?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, and thanks for coming.